I'm Robert Polito, author of Savage Art, a biography of Jim Thompson. The Grifters is a film based upon a Jim Thompson novel.
I had read a lot of Thompson. I was aware of him, and I was aware of him as, I think, the most nihilistic writer ever produced in America.
Jim Thompson was probably the darkest and boldest of all the American crime writers that are coming to be known as American noir. The first generation of American crime writers, the generation of Hammett and Chandler, I think deeply influenced the American noir films. The second generation, the generation of David Goodis and Jim Thompson, say, were as influenced by the movies as they were by the books that came. The Grifters is a novel about sexual corruption, and at its core, it's about a triangle. And to represent that triangle with a tripartite screen, I think is just a dazzling bit of invention. Thompson himself was, I think, a master of experimental fiction. And I think he would have loved the kind of experimentation that goes on at the beginning of this film. Thompson was born in Anadarko, in what is now Oklahoma, in 1906. His father was a peace officer, and within a year of Thompson's birth, his father was indicted for embezzling funds from the county coffers. This set up a strange kind of wandering and lonely childhood for Jim Thompson. By the time he reached high school, the burden of supporting the family largely fell to Jim. His first job, and I think it was one of the decisive moments in his life, was as a bellboy in the Hotel Texas. Being a bellboy in the Hotel Texas meant that he procured women for people who wanted them, men for people who wanted them, drugs and bootleg alcohol for people who wanted that. It brought him in close and intimate contact with the Fort Worth underworld, and it was there that he learned the tricks that Roy Dillon employs, like the 20s, that gets him in so much trouble in the bar.
But now I'm reading that most of the houses were at least 2 centuries old and are easily dismantled and brought to the present site from Ayutthaya. And then you said that one of the houses is bought from the Muslim community.
Mixed all together in the house, in the main house.
What do you mean mixed together?
5 houses from Ayutthaya and 1 from Muslim, and he mixed all
He combined them to make one house. So
with his own style.
In his own style. Understood. And the other houses, the other structures that are here within the compound as well?
There are 4 houses in the garden. One is a chef house.
One is the chef's house. You mean the kitchen?
Chef house. I mean the chef of Jim Thompson.
So it acts as like a kitchen, okay?
He was Chinese. Mr. Thompson, he loved Chinese food because his chef was Chinese and he couldn't speak Thai, but he understood everything.
Very interesting. Now, as we interview Kun Tom here, we're getting surprises here or new information about Kun Jim Thompson. So he loves Chinese food. And so he had one house specifically for his Chinese chef who could not speak English and would only be able to speak Chinese, but knew exactly what Mr. Jim Thompson would prefer eating.
But he understood Thai because his colleagues were Thai.
So eventually he understood the language. So altogether 4 houses. 1 house belongs to the chef, and 2 is the maid's headquarters along with the gardener.
Another one was to show the antiques inside, but that house was rice storage from Ayutthaya province as well.
Ah, all right. So that house, which is used as a museum to house all the artifacts and the arts and the crafts that he has collected from his journeys in that fourth house. And they're all the Thai style, traditional Thai style, fused a little bit with his own ideas.
And after he disappeared about 3 years, they had to move out. Because I mean the maid and the gardeners, because no money to pay them in that town.
Oh,
They had to move out.
how unfortunate. Now, Mr. Jim Thompson, not only did he fall in love with Thailand and physically move here, but he also absorbed a lot of the Thai culture and way of life and traditions as well. Now, before he moved into these houses in this compound, he followed the Thai tradition that you would have to worship the spirits of the area, etc.
Yes.
Yes?
First, he went to Muslim place, so he saw this land, and he wanted to live near the Muslim people because he wanted to work with them. And every morning, you know, he went across the canal by boat every day to see the fabric.
Okay. What is so special about Jim Thompson's fabrics and silks? What makes it different from the other silks that we see around?
Jim Thompson silk is good quality, and the color doesn't fade.
Okay, so the color is very long lasting, it doesn't fade, and when you wash it, the colors, they don't sort of wash away, or dry clean only. Okay, so it's top-notch quality. Do you have silk weaving demonstrations as well?
Actually, we have the factory, the northeastern of Thailand.
In the northeastern part of Thailand, in Nakhon Ratchasima. Okay, all right, and then after the success with the silk, he started to do designing as well, not just the normal fabrics, but we can see like your attire here. This is one of the collections from Jim Thompson. Yeah, and apart from that, he also finally put his work as an architect, experience as an architect into use. He started to become interested in houses, in Thai wooden houses. Correct?
Yes. Mr. Thompson, he lived here only 8 years, from 1959 to 1967. 8 years because first he lived another house near Lumpini Park. And he lived here alone. In 1967, after his birthday, only 1 week, he went to Camilan Highland, Malaysia. He went there with 4 friends. So it was in the afternoon around 3 p.m. His friends were in the room, so he sat in front of the guest house and he left his cigarette and medicine. They were always with him. When his friend came out, they didn't see him again.
So this is the story that has been told.
He disappeared mysteriously. Nobody knows what happened to him.
After his death, a foundation was set up. Can you tell us about the Jim Thompson Foundation?
The foundation donated the money to the Muslim people because they worked with him in that time.
Yes.
We donated the money to 3 mosques every year for the students.
Okay.
And another foundation.
Wonderful. And the president of the foundation at the moment, I believe there have been many presidents, but the current president, is
He is Mr. Booth, Bill Booth.
Mr. Bill Booth, who is also the CEO of Jim Thompson Silk.
He lived in Thailand many years ago.
Okay. I have to thank you so very much indeed to the manager of Jim Thompson House and Museum คุณนัทธีรา คุณต้อมสวัสดีค่ะ ขอบคุณค่ะ thank you